Welcome to the April 17th, 2024 meeting of the Town of Concord Historic Districts Commission. The commission will review 4 continuances and 3 new applications this evening. We may conduct additional business at the end of the evening, but probably not tonight. We are conducting this meeting online in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. The public may access this call through both telephone and video conferencing. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions following the petitioner's presentation and questions from the commission. To do so, please raise your hand in the participant function of the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you may raise your hand by dialing 9. Our host will mute microphones of those not speaking, and in order to preserve bandwidth, and may need to turn off video, with the exception of the commissioners, the host, and the current applicant. The chair will call on each commissioner for comments on an application and then open the meeting for public comment. Once there are no more public comments, I will ask for a motion from the commission to continue, to approve with conditions, or to reject. A second and conduct a roll call vote. Once the commission has acted on an application, the applicant is free to leave the meeting. Now we're changing the order a bit because the Mickelsons have come before us twice and we haven't had a quorum. And theirs is a continuance, and we're going to move to have them come before us first in fairness, because they've had to wait so long for a discussion. So our first hearing will be a continued public one, and it's Adam and Ashley Mickelson, 462 Lexington Road in the American Mile Historic District, to install stone walls, granite pillars, gates, fencing, and walkway, and to expand and modify the driveway, introduce a new curb cut, and install cobblestone driveway edging and aprons. So I'm turning this over to, I guess, Adam.
Mr. Chair, if I may interject.
Absolutely, yes.
I will recuse myself from the discussion of these applications. I'm a neighbor and a butter, and my wife advised them in the design. So I will turn my video and my phone off.
Great, Luis. Thank you.
And Mr. Chair.
Yes. Tim.
We should
probably
do roll call, and I need to declare who the voting members are if we have.
Good thinking, since I just clarified who the voting members are tonight. The voting members are Tim, Kate, Melinda, and Catherine, and myself. Those are the voting members tonight. Thank you, Walter.
And who's present?
I guess we need to do that. Who? I'm present. Melinda?
Here.
Louise?
Present.
Tim?
Here.
Walter?
Present.
We know you're here. Bill?
Present.
I see it. I see that you're here. Kate?
Here.
Did I get everybody? I guess I did. Okay, so Adam will now that we have all this boilerplate out of the way, we'll turn it over to Adam.
Thank you all. Just one slight clarification. I think in concert with the input from the members here today, we did make some modifications. So the curb cut's no longer part of the plan, as well as a circular driveway. So I don't know if we need to kind of go back through the design in any way. I know we have Kate and team here. I think everyone has had a chance to visit the site. I think we did appreciate the input from everyone, and in particular, well, everyone, I guess. So we have not made any major modifications since that. I think the pictures of the site visit were also sent around if anyone had any questions. So I guess I don't know where we should begin. If you want us to go back through the design, we can happily do that.
And do you think we need to walk through the whole design again? maybe quickly?
Maybe quickly, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
well, Adam, why don't you just run us through it and where it stands right now, as far it's from your understanding?
Yep, Kate, do you want to take over?
Yep, I can do that. I'm going to share my screen if that is okay. Thank you all for the members who were able to make it out to the site walk 2 weeks ago. These are the photos that, what we set up with the stakes and tape indicating where the wall would be in front, the posts, where the gate would be, and the wall extends over here. We have a post at the driveway. Person there for scale as requested by Tim or Walter. That gate lines up with the front door. And so forth. The, let's see, if we start with the fence that will be installed will link up with the gate thus enclosing the front yard, connect back to the house. There's a gate here. This fence runs along the property line, a little bit of fence here connecting the house and the garage, and then a little bit here connecting the garage with this side of the property. The fence, there's a sort of a ratty conditioned fence running along this side of the property now that will be removed and replaced with a hedge. The paving, which we've discussed in the past, chip seal paving up here at the front, asphalt connecting to the road with a piece of granite banding here to separate the two. Asphalt in the back for use for the kids to ride bikes and stuff. Bluestone landing at the base of the front steps. The front steps, which are currently brick and are falling apart, will be rebuilt with fieldstone and bluestone. And then bluestone steppers connecting the front landing with the street area. The walls, this is the wall that we just looked at the ribbons for, the 30-inch high stone wall. And then these walls in the front, basically replacing existing walls, replacing, rebuilding the walls along the driveway when the driveway is reconfigured and the ramp is removed from the house. Little bit of a stone wall here to hold back. There's a steep, sharp grade drop and currently some stairs that are in poor condition that would be removed. This wall would replace them. And then the wall along the driveway. We're flaring the driveway out here a little bit more than it currently is to allow the root zone of this existing large tree more room. Planting plan, proposed planting plan, plants along this side to close off the property, plants ending at a manual gate at the driveway, gate in between the walls here, planting again, enclosing the side, and then there would be a fence on this side. Wall samples, you asked us to show you wall samples. These are ones we feel would be sort of appropriate. There's some different sizes. The most recently approved one at 201 Lexington, there were some members of the board who thought the stones in this wall might be a bit larger than they would prefer. But we were thinking, because this was the most recently approved one, this would be the one we would list for precedent, but say that the stones might want to be a little smaller than that. These two walls over here are ones that Ashley Mickelson's father and grandfather have built, local masons to Concord, and we think they're very indicative of the walls that appear throughout the town. And that is the plan.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Why don't we start and go around and get comments? I will begin with top of my screen with Melinda.
Could we just see the second to last picture again,
Of course.
please? I
Sorry,
do
I
have
shut that
a
down.
question. The one that showed the pathway and to the front. No, the one before that. Yeah, so when we were there, you talked about taking out the two gardens on either side closest to the road.
Yeah, if I go.
And so I'm not seeing that now, right? So this is a new draw. Oh, so are they still there or did you?
Well, they're there currently, but as part of this plan, those would be removed. One of them currently is here and the other is currently over here.
Okay, and then are you moving the stone wall back a little bit because you're able to get rid of those?
think- Yeah, I think Melinda, in part due to your recommendations and ideas, we did move it forward a little bit, which allows us to get it a little closer, have more green. That dead tree that is tangled in the wires, we can remove, and then obviously those little beds that were in the prior picture, they've not yet been removed. Nothing's been touched.
Right.
Plan is to remove them because they are obviously kind of scattered there and not really placed for any good particular reason.
Yeah,
Okay.
this
All
was the plan that we laid out that you saw on site. There was some discussion about why the wall was as far off the road as it was. And that reason was because in your regulations, you say you don't want mature trees being moved. So we had run it in between the trees. I did make an updated version of it if we were allowed to remove this tree here.
Okay.
This puts the wall still within the, the sort of realm of distances that walls typically are off the street in this area of the town for those homes that have walls. And in this case, this tree would be removed. The wall would go just on the roadside of where that tree currently is and then curve back to meet the gate.
And that would also make it more in line with the other walls in the street, which I think is another point that you and others brought up as well.
Yep.
Which I think makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
So this, the reason I was showing the other drawings is because they were the ones that had been entered into the record as the ones we were reviewing. But this one here reflects the comments that were made about moving the wall a little closer to the street.
Okay, I was just curious as to whether that was something that you wanted to adopt or not. I happen to be a fan of that. I think you have more room between the front of the house and the stone wall, which will, and you'll have more lawn, and I just think it'll be a nicer look. I have no other questions. I think you've worked very hard to make this work for both us and yourselves. And I think it's a great plan now.
Thank you.
Great. Linda, thank you. Let me
Thank you.
see. Let me go to Tim next.
Are the piers, my question had to do with the piers. We talked about reducing them in size. Has that been given consideration?
That had been discussed. A request had not been made to do that. These piers here could be reduced in size. The posts for the gate will need to be of a certain size just to support the gate. But these ones here on either side of the path certainly could be made smaller if that was something that was requested by the commission.
And we're happy to do that as long as there's consensus. So just let us know what the group wants and we can happily do that. I know it was not clear that what would exactly be the right height and size, but we're happy to do whatever the consensus of the group is.
Yeah, my concern, I think the others who raised it was the, not per se the height, but the girth of them, the width of, the footprint. So I also agree with Melinda. I think moving the wall was sort of a neither here nor there location before. Any walls of note along Lexington Road tend to be pretty much right on the road, right off the sidewalk.
Yep.
This doesn't have a sidewalk, but so I would endorse losing that tree and moving the wall close to the road. And I would also see what my other commissioners say, but would like to request smaller piers, especially at the main gateway entrance shown in this photograph. But that's it for me. I appreciate all the work as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Kate?
Okay, can you hear me? Hi. Kate, is it possible to see just side by side the current plan that's up with the revised one that reflects the wall closer to the road? Is it, is it possible that it's okay? That's all right.
I don't know. Well, let me see if I can
No,
try and
no.
do it.
No, that's,
Watch me struggle with the
I don't want to watch you struggle.
technology as we
There's
speak.
been enough struggle. Okay.
It's a pretty modest movement, Kate. I think we kind of talked about that day. It's not a huge.
Yeah, no, I thought it was, yeah, I just was
Yeah,
wondering.
I
Yeah.
can show you right now.
Actually, you know what? Just how
Here's
much,
the
actually,
grouping of 3 trees at the street, and the wall runs just behind that tree.
oh no, I remember from the site visit.
Yeah, and then in the revised plan, it's just on the other side. So it's maybe, I think we moved it 6 feet closer to the street.
Okay, yeah, no, that's, I agree. I think that's a really good amendment. And I don't have any questions outside of what Tim just mentioned. I am also I think with the piers by the walkway, by the entrance, they are presently 12 inches, 14 inches. Do you know their measurement, Kate?
Right now, they are, the freestanding walls, fieldstone walls, we tend to build at about 18 inches thick. So the piers are 18 by 18. What we
Mhm.
could do is a piece of stone that's 18 inches thick, so it spans the width of the wall, but isn't that wide. You know, as 12, like an 18 deep by 12 inches wide. And currently, because the gate is 4 feet, the thought was to have the pier at 4 feet to match the height of the gate.
Right, okay. No, then
But if you wanted, I think the point was they wanted it skinnier, right?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is we could keep it, you
4
know,
feet.
depth front to back still the same, but the width here could be less, so that when you're looking at it from the street, you're not seeing it as wide as this currently shows.
right. Tim, what do you think about that? Are you on mute?
Sorry about that. 18 inches is just a massive pier for a little gate. So in my
I
mind,
agree.
so I think a 12-inch pier, same height. It's not as fat as the wall in a square pier. The wall will be thicker than the pier, which has a lot of precedent in Concord. Would look good.
Yeah, I think if we were looking at,
There's a few photos you have of that same detail.
yeah, right here, you know, here the pier at 201 Lexington at the end of the wall is the depth of the wall on this side and is narrower on the side facing the street. But it sounds like what you're talking about is something more like this.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be quite as small as that. That's probably a little less than 12 inches square, but
Yeah, those are a little undersized, I feel like, for this situation, but we can definitely do something that's smaller.
So 18 inches, 12 inches would be.
Yeah.
About right. But, anyway, well, again, I'll see what my other commissioners say, but I have no further questions. Thank you.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you. Let me see. Tim, Walter.
Yeah, I have, as far as the pier goes, since we're talking about that, I hadn't found any references to quote unquote guidelines for wall height, but fences in the 2002 guidelines are stated to not be higher than 42 inches. So the gate and on the driveway, and then for residents, RESONAN, to put that to a 4-foot height, just because it reflects the height of the gate at the driveway, doesn't correspond with a 3.5 foot high guideline. So that's my observation on that. I think that the 4 feet is excessive. But I have lots of questions about this. My first one, I guess, still is, we're talking about all this in terms of this particular house and looking at the relationship of this particular wall to this particular house, and not considering that, especially the comp here for, is it 201 you're talking about? Which is on the other side of the street.
Mhm.
All the walls here are on the north side, not the south side. I believe that was pointed out by a commissioner.
There are also walls on the south side and the north side, but that's fine.
Well, there are, what, 3 walls on the south side? 4?
There are
And-
walls
That's the-
on the south side at, where
Yeah,
is it?
this is.
Oh,
There's 3, I believe, plus the ones at the gun house and at Haywood Meadows.
So it makes 4, which is what I was saying.
Okay.
3, 4, 5.
Fine, okay, if you consider the gun house a separate thing. If you look at the National Historic site, the first delineation of all this, the wayside is the first part of the National Park Service properties outside the center of town, essentially. And there's national park property on the side of the Hawthorne and also across the street. So as we were standing across the street looking back at it, I was considering and I'm on record parenthetically here, I'm on record for having said several times that the defense here needs to be for the integrity of the historic district. The first thing that you see as you're coming out of town that is a National Park Service property is the wayside. And the view from the wayside used to be, until 150 years ago or so, straight across this entire property. So I have problems with putting a wall here that on the south side of the street, when said I'll give you the benefit of saying that there are 5 other walls that we can consider along here. At least one of them is well obscured by vegetation too at this point, or plantings. In the start of the description of the fencing and all here, and I know that it has been explained in the past that safety of kids in the front yard is the primary concern, and why this would be walled and it would be gated across the driveway. It looks to me like there's a very short distance to be able to fence off the backyard. And quite honestly, for my kids on Lexington, I would not want them to be encouraged to be on the front lawn if they could be kept in the back. At some point, they will be old enough that they will be able to be reasoned with, I should say, and kept from playing over the wall in the front. But until then, why not just keep them in the back? And if you need something to break up the front of the property, put up a fence. And I've said this before. I think it's 532 perhaps that I would consider to be the most direct comp here. And that's a white fence that's set back to either side of the building rather than a wall across the front. That's part of this. And one of the things that was said in the presentation, the start here, was that that this would line up the walls with the other walls on the street. And
That was a recommendation of other commissioners. That's why we adopted or tried to.
yeah, but all I'm saying is there aren't that many walls,
Or there are a lot of walls on the street, including red.
Yes, but they're retaining
Yeah,
walls.
I think
I
they're
go
not all-
down Lexington, quite often. And since this application has gone in, I've been extremely conscious of looking at the walls. Just
Well,
saying.
I appreciate all of your input and thoughts. I would say, again, safety is our utmost priority.
Yeah,
And
well, then
unfortunately,
fence
hold on,
fence
hold on.
off, you put
Hold on.
another, 10 feet of fencing in.
But
and you have
holding out,
fence off the
having our
backyard.
kids only go in the backyard is not a plausible solution on a very busy road. In addition, we are also moving our children to school in here in Concord, which there will be a bus that will pick them up in front of our house.
Mhm.
I think I respectfully understand the importance of some of your points. On the flip side, there should be the ability to have a safe passage for our children without being, overly concerned regarding the dangerous nature of Lexington Road. And I think there's got to be some middle ground where we can have a stone wall that it gives some additional protection, is aesthetically beautiful and reasonable, and also gives us the solace that we want as parents and family members for now a family of 5 that has moved back here specifically because we love the community and all.
I know, we've, I understand what you're saying. I've heard this. How many other gates are there on driveways on Lexington?
I don't know the answer to that.
There's at least one, and then, no, there's at least
Okay.
2 that are operable, and a third which is sort of ornamental and not operable.
Okay.
On the south side.
Okay.
I have not looked,
I think,
I have not looked at the north
yeah,
side.
okay. On the
In-
south,
in the
Walter?
historic district.
yes,
I'm having a problem with your arguments on context here.
okay,
Again, I've said before, we're not trying to replicate every wall and the way the walls are along this street. This is a Victorian house, and
Sure,
a
of
wall
course.
is a modern
Yeah.
wall is appropriate. So I don't, frankly, I don't get your point.
okay, I understand.
And do you
Yeah,
had other-
I'm presenting, I'm not trying to convince everybody, I suppose, but I want everybody to think about it. If you make when we make a decision about this, that all the possibilities are considered, that's all. So I'll leave my speechifying at that point.
you said you had other points?
I'm fine here.
Great. Bill?
I'm kind of where Kate and Tim are. I think a smaller cross-section set of posts, 10-inch squarish, would be better. I too would be in favor of losing that tree and having the wall closer to the street.
I agree with that also.
Great. I will say that we would also prefer the wall to be closer to the street. So to hear you all say this is welcome news.
Great. Bill, anything else?
No, sir.
I have nothing further to add. You've all been very thorough. So I would like to have someone make a motion. Oh, excuse me, we need public comments. I almost forgot.
And probably clarify who's voting on this with Louis refusing.
He was not a voting member, so it's
Okay, very good.
it's Tim, Kate, Melinda, myself, and Catherine. And Catherine is not here. You're right. So Walter, we'll have you vote.
Okay.
Any public comments? Norman Wellen, I think, has a hand up.
I apologize. I didn't mean to if I did put it up.
Okay. Is there anybody else? Any other public comments? Great. Let me go around to our members and see if there are any follow-up comments. And if there are none, then we'll go to a vote. Great. So does anybody want to make a motion?
Sure. I move that we approve the application for 462 Lexington Road with 2 adjustments as discussed tonight, moving the wall forward towards the street per the illustration provided, and reducing the size of the gate piers to 12 by 12 inches in plan.
Do I have a second? Melinda, Melinda's a second. Let me go around and get a vote. Let me start with Melinda.
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Walter?
I need to stand by my principle and say no.
Bill?
I don't think I'm voting.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. Kate?
I frequently get confused with Bill. Aye, it's an honor.
Aye. And then I'm an aye. Have I missed anybody? Okay, so it passes. Thank you.
Thank you all. We appreciate all the efforts, the cooperation that we've had along the way.
And thank you for your patience.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
good. Oops. Oh. Did I hear someone make a comment? No? Okay. Okay, now we're going back to the new hearings tonight, and the first
Actually-
one is the
Dennis,
first.
I do have a question and comment. A while ago, we had requested that the granite end of the driveway be removed by December. Does that need to be tabled or dealt with?
Remind me, has it been dealt with? I don't, I gather from what you're saying, it
It's
hasn't.
still in place, that we had given the benefit of until the end of this year, I believe, to have it removed. So that's still in play potentially. We don't need to talk it through right now. I just want to make sure.
Walter, I think since it's been approved, we can't change it anymore, so it's there for good. I'm just kidding. No, no, I think we've already committed.
Yeah.
As part of that plan that
It
it's
will be taken out.
moved. It will be removed and replaced with that small band, and that's it.
Okay.
And so it will be removed. I promise. I will make sure of it personally, and
Just crossing T's and dotting I's.
we appreciate
Walter, thank you. It's a good,
Very
it's a good point.
And I guess one last just thing, Tim or others, as we decide upon the final height of that thing, if you guys want to have input, we would appreciate it, and we can either touch base directly or whatever makes the most sense. And go from
Sorry,
there.
the height of, Adam, the height of what?
Of those pillars in the middle. The width, right? The height's not in question. The width is the question, right?
Right. And I think in this case, they need to check in with the office and provide it with they're going to use for the piers. Is that correct?
Yes, right.
Perfect. We'll coordinate with Ann directly, and then she could disseminate it however is needed.
Yep.
Okay,
Great.
excellent. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, so our first hearing tonight is Susan Ellsworth, 347, 349 Lexington Road in the American Mile Historic District to replace wooden gutters and downspouts with aluminum. I have I see a hand raised by Jessica.
Should I speak?
It's gone away, sorry. Yes,
Um,
why don't you present, Susan, why don't you present what you're trying to achieve?
Okay, my name is Rich Feely.
I am the owner on record, but it is my husband, Rich Feely, who is going to present for us. And also here is Dave Vader. We own 347 and Dave owns 349. And the gutters go around our house to Dave's house. So I'll let Rich present if that's all right.
That's fine, whoever wants to present.
Okay, let me see if you. Okay, can you see my screen?
Mhm.
We can
Yes,
see, we can see you, yes.
no, but can you permit me to share my screen?
Sure.
Do you have it now?
Be able to.
Yes?
We don't see it. If you need help, I can share the screen too.
Okay, I've got it up. I don't, now let me just go back to the instructions here and see if I can. Yeah, what, Ann, why don't you go ahead and share it? Just put up the whole application and I'll start with a picture at the beginning. It's all pretty much in the application. This is the Prescott Moore House. It's probably part of it is pre-revolutionary. The part that we wish to replace the gutters is 1839. The east and west wings have been extensively rebuilt over the last 30 years. 347, 349 is relatively unchanged. So, and let me go back and see if I can see your screen here. Okay. Okay, can we back up a bit and to the first photograph? Okay, that's the house. And what we're talking about is replacing existing deteriorating wooden gutters with white aluminum at both the veranda level and the sides on the upper level. There is no gutter across the front at the second level. Next slide, please. Okay, there are already, or there is an existing aluminum gutter of the type we propose to use on the house facing the street. This is 355 Lexington Road. It is the east wing of the house. This is a 4-unit condominium. This is a recent replacement, like for like, of a pre-existing aluminum gutter that I think goes back to when this unit was rebuilt in 1992, and I'm sure went through the historical commission at that time. You can see in the detail of photograph B what the gutter looks like somewhat closer up. Next page, Ann, please. Okay, so here is the west side of the 347, 349 structure. You can see the wooden gutters above the pillars on the veranda and below the roof above the second floor. And there's a close-up of this. There are leaks in these gutters. We think there's no rot in the fascia boards, but there clearly is some rot in the wooden gutters. Moving down. Okay, here's the front. You can see in the detail some of the deterioration. And again, here we're only talking about the veranda level. There is no gutter on the second floor. Going on. Okay, this is the east side of the house. Same thing. Second floor would be replaced, as would the veranda. You can see photographs of some of the deterioration there. Now, also in the application is the proposal from the gutter company. We've been working on this for 2 or 3 years. We got one proposal from a historic preservation company that was, frankly, you know, it was fiberglass, it wasn't wood, and it was still extremely high. This we feel is reasonable and something the condominium can afford. We do have problems now with water coming through the gutters and over the gutters. So we'd like to replace with white aluminum, looking exactly like that piece you saw in the earlier photograph of number 355. And we can go back if you want to look at these. I also have a plot plan. I'm sorry I don't have the original plot plan for this property because it was signed by H.D. Thoreau, but we do have a plot plan that shows the location of the house on the lot. So questions?
Let me begin with Melinda. You happen to be on the top, Melinda, right next to me.
That's
Questions you may
fine.
have.
I have no questions. I think this is fine.
Luis? You're muted.
I have no questions at all. Thanks very much.
Tim?
Rich, is the west wing that was recently renovated, I think, what is the gutter on that?
Copper. Copper in front, aluminum in back.
I guess the question for the committee with the K-style gutter, which is, as I understand it, I think, Rich, the K-style shape is just on the east wing, right?
At the moment, it's on the east wing only. That's correct.
Yeah. That if we'd want to ask the applicant to consider an aluminum half-round gutter more in keeping with the shape of the original wood gutter. That's my question to my fellow commissioners versus just accepting the K-style as everywhere, which I don't particularly find. It's not per se an historic shape. It's what the aluminum gutter people came up with. But that's my one question. Otherwise, no comments.
Great. Walter?
I agree. Half round. I don't have a problem with the aluminum, given but the aluminum that's already there. Obviously, you know, wood in historic context better than aluminum, and copper better than aluminum as well. But I have no problem with aluminum in this case. I would say that half round probably would be a better choice. And as I've said about gutters before, that bigger is better. And it's possible that a half round gutter would carry more water, which is a consideration for as we go into the future here. I don't know what the volume capacity is of the existing aluminum and what would be replacing it, but that's my
Well, as I said, we're not replacing the aluminum. We were told the gate,
I'm matching the aluminum. I understand.
the K-style, which would match the front of 355, we were told had more carrying capacity, but I'm not an expert on that.
Mm-hmm. That's my only caution about this. I have no problem other than that.
Thank you, Walter. Bill?
I agree with Tim and Walter. I think the aluminum material is fine. I think the K-style is not appropriate for the historic character of the district, and the half round is appropriate.
I would note there's a number of K-style gutters, or there are a number between our house and downtown on Lexington Road. I mean, we'll have to go back and get another bid. I don't know whether the condo can afford it or whether there would be a difference in price. But I guess we'd have to get another bid and submit another application.
I'm not sure if you'd have to submit another application, and would they, if we approve the aluminum gutters?
I'm sorry, oops. I'm sorry, I missed the question.
I think we're looking at another profile for the, am I correct? Another profile for these gutters than what was given to us. But if we go ahead and approve the aluminum gutters, if they change the profile, I don't think they need to come back to us, do they?
No, they could just submit it administratively. You could
Great.
just condition that they provide the profile and submit that for the file.
Particularly if it's a profile that the commission is approving. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bill, did you make all the comments you were going to make?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, Kate?
Yes, I echo what Bill said.
Okay, have I missed anybody? I would agree with my fellow members. In the past, this building has aluminum, so I agree they should continue with aluminum. In the past, we've not really endorsed aluminum. We really looked at a composite, which is better at replicating the wooden gutters that are there. But I think in this case, if the aluminum already exists, so I agree with you that we ought to go along with the aluminum that's to match the rest of the building. Do I have any comments from the public on this? I see no comments. Any final comments from any of the commissioners? Great. Does someone want to make a motion?
Well, I'll do it again, I guess. I make a motion that I guess we're approving this application. Well, I guess, Dennis, I guess my thinking is, should we ask the owners? We're telling the owners that we're approving the application if they would consider a half-round painted aluminum gutter, a white gutter, correct?
Correct.
And we haven't heard from the owners as to whether. So I just want to be respectful of the owners that.
I mean, we would accept that. I'll have to go back and get another bid, but if you would approve the application with the condition that the K-style white aluminum gutter be replaced with round aluminum gutters, we'll see if we can get that within the budget. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Rich. Yeah, so I propose that we approve the application for 347, 349 Lexington Road for new gutters and downspouts with the adjustment that the gutters be a half-round painted white aluminum gutter to match adjacent trim.
Could I ask a question, Tim, when you say painted? Because aluminum tends to come, with a pre-baked finish. Are you saying that you want them painted as well? Or am I missing something here?
No, that's a good question. I guess I guess we would accept, it's a pretty stark white house. We would accept a stock white aluminum gutter. That's a question for my commissioners.
Yeah, because the existing gutters
choice.
are or were white.
Yeah. So let me rephrase that again. Except 347, 349 Lexington Road, white aluminum gutters with a half-round profile.
Great. Do we have a second?
Second.
Kate seconded it. So let me go around to the voting members. Tim?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Melinda?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So you're all set to go.
Thank you very much. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your consideration.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Our next hearing is from Chris and Cara Davis, 525 Lexington Road in the American Mile Historic District, to temporarily widen the drive and add a temporary parking area.
Yep, that would be me. How's everyone?
We are fine. Would you please present what you want to have us approve?
Yes. I'm assuming I can share my screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So not sure if everyone remembers or not, but back in August of last year, you guys had previously approved the second phase of construction up at the upper part of the property in the back of the house, which was a carriage house, in-ground pool, and pool house. And we've since started that, and now we are. Previously, when we did the house construction, we had a driveway going up the property, straight up the property, to allow construction vehicles to get access, because this is a very narrow, windy driveway. And we don't necessarily want to put that asphalt driveway back there, because it's not very good looking, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. So what we're looking to do in place of that is temporarily widen the driveway wide enough to allow construction vehicles to get up and down the driveway, and also a small temporary parking and staging area at the bottom of the property in this yellow patched area right here. So it doesn't really show it here, but there's a lot of vegetation and trees right in this area that kind of hides all this. The landscape architect did do some renderings showing, so you can kind of see in the background here, this would be the temporary staging and parking at the bottom. And this would be the view of it. You're looking at a construction fence with green privacy fabric on it, which would be there. But this would be the view of it from Lexington Road. And here's a kind of a larger view of it.
Anything
Now,
else you
again-
want to tell us?
Again, this would just be temporary. Everything would go back as it is right now. This is just for construction purposes.
What's the time frame?
For how long this will be there?
Yes.
Until next year, until probably April or May, probably a full year from now.
Full year from now.
Yeah.
Great. Good. Are you done with the presentation?
Correct.
Great, good. So let me go around and get comments. Let me start with Kate this time.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just hesitating because I'm trying to think if I've ever had this kind of inquiry before. I don't think I have, so I'm not sure what else I should be asking. So no, I don't have any questions right now.
Great, thank you, Kate. Melinda?
So I actually would like to do a site visit on this because I think this is going to be more visible from the road than you potentially have pictured for us. And a whole year of earth moving equipment isn't really going to be all that attractive. So I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but I think I'd like to take a look. Because would you be putting all those bushes in? They don't exist now, right?
Oh, no, they exist. All this all this vegetation and trees and bushes, they all exist now.
I'd still like to see it. I mean, it's gonna look like a construction zone for a long time. And I mean, maybe you could move it up a little bit further or something. I don't know. I would like to go and see.
Great. Anything else, Melinda?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, great. Bill?
I have a different view. I think it is a thoughtful thing for your neighbors. Being in the middle of construction myself, the trucks destroy everything in sight, and you're providing a place to get them off the public roadways. I think there is precedent. We granted an approval for the Concord Academy to have a similar construction access.
Correct.
It was temporary, and a year is, if you can stick to the year, a year is pretty short in the scheme of construction.
Thank you. Walter?
I would just say a year, if it is a little bit more than a year and we're into April of 2025, that's a bigger consideration than if it were most any other time. I would think. Again, on Lexington Road there. My question, I guess, is there a reason that you couldn't move this farther up the driveway, and where the T on temporary and the P on parking, where that yellow hits the blue there? If one were to draw a straight line, yes, from there, draw a straight line from there just to the top of the picture. Straight up, yeah. What if that were cutting off the driveway, taking out that curve on the driveway over there, and just straight up, would you be able to use the area to the left of that now red line for
For all this
temporary
area?
parking?
For all this area?
Yeah,
So it's there, you can't really tell from here. You can a little bit with the grading lines, but it gets extremely steep in here. And then we would have to take out this very mature tree also, which
are there
I'm
other
sure-
trees that are going to be removed from the
Yeah, so this is
proposed
really,
area?
yeah, we had previously gone, we did the house construction. We had previously gone before Historic Commission, and we had put in literally a temporary driveway that looked like literally asphalt straight up the hill.
So,
like
yeah,
this.
okay. Before my
which is-
time, with my apologies.
Yeah, I mean, it was much more unsightly than what we're asking for now. So, you know,
Well, it
that
depends
might
on
be
where,
something.
where the visibility is.
Oh, this would have been much more visible. This was in plain view of everybody for a year and a half.
Mhm.
And that was the only access we had to be able to get construction
Right.
vehicles up off this property.
Yeah, I guess I would be interested in seeing what the possible alternatives were, not that, I'm sure he's looked at them, but I'd like to know what they are and what the hardship level involved with putting it farther up the driveway actually is. That's my take and my comment on this. I think
Well,
a year into next April is a long time to have it that visible to Lexington. And I was under construction for 4 years here, so I understand the timing on that.
Walter, thank you. Luis?
I think that the issue here, it's the duration of the accommodation. And I think that, you know, a year, it's quite long because it's going to get into the issues with the celebrations for the 250. So I will encourage the applicant to be as quick as possible to make this arrangement. On the other hand, we have to be realistic. And it's very likely that it's not going to be accomplished within 1 year or maybe a year and a half. So my suggestion would be that we make that we consider this a temporary application and that we give a period of 6 months that are renewable twice. In other words, the applicant will have up to 18 months to finish the work. And the second thing is that we will ask the applicant, keeping in mind that it's very likely that this is going to be a substantial disruption of the landscape and of the view of this very historic road, that he installs some type of shielding material, be it with artificial material in terms of you know, green structures, etc., or actually even you know, some vegetation. So this is completely concealed from Lexington Road. So that's it. Thanks very much.
Luis, thank you. Tim?
I think Luis has interesting ideas. I mean, and I agree with Melinda as well. I'd like to see the site and know exactly how, if this is temporary parking, how it can be concealed, because the construction could easily last longer than a year. We don't know. So I'd like to see the site and really understand what can be done to screen that if that's the site.
Yeah, so we had planned on putting a 6-foot construction fence up with green privacy fabric that blends in with the rest of the vegetation and trees around to screen it. That was our plan. That's kind of what's shown in the renderings also.
Okay.
So we fully recognize that, you know, we need to do something to try and screen it the best we can, and that's really one of the only options we have.
Tim, any other comments?
No, thank you.
My question has the picture we were looking at is what you would see from Lexington Road, correct? The plantings that you showed us?
So this is a rendering from the landscape architect. You know, this isn't exact, but yes, there's very mature trees in this area. There's shrubs here, there's other trees in this area. So their property line is way over here to the right. And then their driveway is right here where this mailbox is. And then it kind of loops behind all this. And you can see it in the background, and it kind of curls up the property. So this view is meant to be a rendering of what it would look like from Lexington.
Good. Can we go back to the site plan?
Yeah. This one or
No,
this one?
the one you just had, the one before.
This one.
So we're concerned about this view, but there are abutters here, right? There's someone who lives here? Someone's house?
To the right?
Yes.
Yes, correct.
And what are you going to do to screen? How heavy is the screening in there?
So it's pretty heavily vegetated in here as well. But the plan was to put up a construction fence on this side and the front, basically to screen off both Lexington Road and the abutters with 6 foot tall and green privacy fabric.
Okay. Thank you. Any public comments? Maybe we should take this down so we can see if any hands are up. I can't see from here.
Oh, sorry. Hold on.
Thank you. Any comments? Any public comments? Great. Any final
Yes,
thoughts?
I have a comment. My hand's up.
Okay, I don't see it up, but where are you?
sorry.
Oh, there you are. I see you. Leah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
So this is Leah Butler. I am the owner of the house that is to the right of said staging area. And I just had a couple of questions. So I think in the application, there was question of either asphalt or stone. So I'd be interested to know whether or not that was going to be asphalt, because I think that digging up asphalt at the end of it is a big deal too, or putting hardscape down there versus, I mean, I know that that there was a negative reaction to more hardscape there, and it seems like for a year, that's a long time. Secondarily, I will say that there is not really mature trees in between my property and the other, where this area would be. I would certainly see these trucks, certainly from my bedroom window every morning. I don't know how early they would start arriving, but it's right outside my bedroom window. And I would also say that if you're standing and looking straight at my house, you can absolutely see right onto that property in all seasons. So the hundreds of people who walk down the street every single day, especially at the 250, they will stand at my house, as they do, and you will see all the trucks. I don't even know if it's a 6 foot privacy. I don't see how that would cover those trucks at all, if that's in question. So I guess I would be in favor of a site visit.
Great. Leah, thank you. Thank you very much. Any other comments from commissioners?
My echoing that, how tall is a construction dump truck or a crane, and 6 foot privacy wall isn't going to go very far.
So it wouldn't be, just to clarify, it wouldn't be dump trucks or cranes. It would be personal vehicles. That's it. And we're certainly open to having a site visit.
Okay, well,
towards.
We've been talking about construction vehicles and not about personal vehicles. So this is the first time that this has come up.
Okay.
And it does have a bearing on things. I was going to say, and if it's a question of construction vehicles and all that, declaring a week off in 2025 for celebration week would probably go a long way to softening having vehicles there all the time as well. Just straight thought. Okay, so you're talking about pickup trucks, essentially, vans?
Yeah, any personal vehicles that people bring. So maybe some pickup trucks, personal vehicles. There's not dump trucks or cranes or,
Okay,
or,
well,
or
that's
any of that
less,
stuff.
much less impactful. So it's good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for the
And
clarification.
just to respond what one of the questions Leah had asked. So we could certainly do it one or the other. If crushed stone is going to be more appealing, that's certainly an option. We would need something that's not easily dug up or easily, especially in the winter, it doesn't get all muddy and you track it everywhere. So crushed stone is certainly an option.
Right. I think Concord Academy used crushed stone because it's
Correct.
easy to remove afterwards, as Leah pointed out.
Correct.
Other comments from anybody? Great. So I'm seeing a site visit. Is that agreed upon by our members? So we need a site visit?
Yeah.
Okay. So do I have a motion? I guess for continuance at this point.
I move that we continue the application for 525 Lexington Road to the next Historic Districts Commission meeting of May something, following a site visit that morning.
Right. And when is the next one? What's the date of the next meeting?
The 8th of May.
May 8th. So we normally do a site visit on the morning of May 8th. Norman, is that fine with you?
I believe so. Is it all right if I just check? I don't see why not, but is it all right if I check with the clients and just get back to Ann on that? I don't, we can plan on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so unless we are otherwise, May 8th at 8 o'clock, we'll meet you at the bottom of the driveway.
Okay. Yep.
There's no need to go to the top and bother the owners at that point.
No, I think it's just down the bottom.
Okay, so I need a vote on, did I have a second on the continuance? Kate made it. I didn't see a second.
I'll
I'll
second.
second. Okay.
Okay, Walter seconded. And let's get a vote. Bill?
I'm not voting.
Oh, I keep doing that. I am sorry. Tim? I'll get this straight eventually. Kate? Oops, you're muted, Kate.
Aye.
Okay. Melinda?
Aye.
And Walter?
Aye.
And me? Aye. Is that everybody? Did I get everybody? Great. Okay. On to the next hearing. Thank you.
I'm not voting, but I just have a post-vote comment, which is the timing is as Walter thought of, pretty important. Louise had a, I think, nicely practical way of thinking about a 6-month term that's extendable by the commission. I just want to maybe make sure after the site visit, we don't forget that timing part of this.
Yeah, we're certainly open to that. We want to work with everyone here. So if that's what it is, that's fine.
Good. So between Luis and Bill, you guys will remember it, right? For the next hearing. We'll put you on for that. Thank you very much. On to the next hearing.
Thank you.
This is the town of Concord for 12 Main Street, Northbridge Historic District, to install a temporary public art installation and a sign. So who is representing the town? Mimi?
I am Mimi Graney. I'm the Economic Vitality Manager. And also on, I think she should still be here, is Liz Helford, the artist. Actually, I'm not seeing her still on the line. We thought we were going to be on at 7:10, so she might have had to log off.
She's there. I see her.
Is she okay?
Her
Maybe
face isn't there, but her name is. Okay, do you want to present for the town?
Yes. So folks might recall I had spoken to the HDC. The town received a grant from the New England Foundation for the Arts about a year ago, or a little more than a year ago. It was part of a program that's twofold. One, to build equity and inclusion for public art for artists, and the other is to build capacity among municipalities to commission public art. And at the time, we were sort of looking at That was when the 250th committee was looking for their public memorial, and they were looking at breaking ground by the end of this year. So we were looking at doing an installation for roughly the fall of 2025. We did do a call for public art, and we received a set of applications. There was a public review, and we have selected the work by Liz Helpfer. And some things have changed since we did that initial call. One is that the 250th Memorial Committee is not ready to break ground yet. And they're envisioning not being able to move forward till at least the spring of next year, or of 2026. Excuse me, sorry, 2025. Get all my years mixed up. And that when we did the initial call, that we weren't sure what kind of how robust, because it was just going to be for temporary art, and it was a relatively modest budget, what kind of works might be presented. And the work by Liz Helpfer is actually robustly constructed enough that it would enable us to have a longer installation period. So we are presenting to you tonight her design, and actually I see Liz has logged on, so I'll let her do her presentation. We're actually wanting to extend the installation period for 10 months. To basically dovetail for when, so we can capture the audiences in 2025 and still get out of the way for the 250th Memorial when they're ready for construction. A couple of things to note, that this proposal will still need to be reviewed by the select board, and the contract with the artist has a provision that at any time, for any reason, the town manager is able to have the artwork removed. So if for some reason there should be some major controversy, if it should be excessively damaged, if it shows that there's any concerns whatsoever, it can be removed for any reason. So I'll actually let Liz show her slideshow if she can be given permission to do so. And she can share with you all the presentation that she did at the public forum in early March.
Okay, hi. Thanks for having me. All right, let me do a little share screen. Sorry, I missed the very beginning of this. I have another meeting at 7:30, and so give me just one moment. What's this? Present. Okay. So this is why people use AI to do drawings these days. But this is the drawing of the sculpture, which shows two silhouetted figures facing each other on separate benches in that green space. And the benches are, I'm going to go through here. Mimi, do you want me to do an exact replica of the presentation?
No, but whatever makes sense for the HDC to see.
All right, I might do the abbreviated version just so it's not, won't take too long.
Yeah, I
so
think
the two
folks know who
figures-
Ellen Garrison and Henry David Thoreau are now. So
Yep. So the two figures are Ellen Garrison and Henry David Thoreau, seated across from each other as though in conversation. Thoreau is a known luminary of the Transcendentalist movement, proponent of the abolitionist cause, and Ellen Garrison is a lesser known figure, but one whose impact as a Black woman furthering civil rights in the 19th century cannot be overstated. It is important to me that in this installation, they are of equal stature, seated in direct conversation in a way that was not likely during their lifetimes. Both the figures are translucent. They're made out of a translucent acrylic that also acts as a mirror. So you can both see through them and you can see yourself reflected in them. So on the benches, they're made of oak and cast iron. The ends of the benches have both the names of Garrison and Thoreau in the place of the traditional maker's mark, which is a clue to visitors of who's there. There will also be signage included with this, but also in cast iron relief on the bench ends are symbolic representations of revolutionary soldiers, which is a nod to their forebears who served. Okay, so this was a partial quote from Ellen Garrison. So this installation emphasizes reflection through the seated pose, and the pose is very intentional, that there is freedom and simply being allowed to sit and be in a space, in particular to sit and be safe. This is an excerpt quote and describes her experience in being forcibly removed from a train station waiting area where she was not allowed to sit and did not feel safe existing in that space. Some of the most iconic moments of the civil rights movement, predicated by the abolitionist movement, come in the form of seated poses. We can think of Rosa Parks on the bus, numerous sit-ins, and Ruby Bridges sitting in the classroom. As visitors sit on the benches, as they are invited to do, next to Garrison or Thoreau, they may feel they are in conversation with these individuals and part of a long and impactful legacy. So in this sculpture, Garrison and Thoreau are literal lenses to the past and reflections of the future. In the Revolution, and here's an image of John Thoreau, Henry David's father. Both of their grandfathers served in the American Revolution in different ways. Cesar Robbins was a Revolutionary soldier, and John Thoreau was a Revolutionary privateer. And during the abolitionist period, there's a nod to this 19th century through the bench design. Thoreau and Garrison are shown in profile also in the fashions of their time. And today, the use of contemporary material like acrylic is a contemporary spin on figurative memorialization. When we think about freedom today, we can often think about education, providing resources to the people who need them. And this artwork also provides that educational component. So I'll talk a little bit about the materials. So the benches are made of cast iron and oak. They will be cast at a New England foundry, the cast iron components. Likely using the green sand technique, if not the bonded sand technique. If you're familiar with any foundry processes, they're both very fun. The patterns will be sculpted in my studio, and then the cast iron will be coated with an oil-based sealant or powder coated to achieve the traditional black finish. Actually, a very traditional finish for iron to get this nice black. This is like a coating in thick oil at high heat, gives you that deep black. It's not a very common patina these days, so the powder coating will most likely be the most rust resistant. Additionally, the two-way mirror acrylic is a pretty unique material. You can say pretty unique, it's just unique or it's not unique. Anyway, that brings this installation to the contemporary art realm. You'll recognize this material from crime dramas, the interrogation room in which folks outside the room can see in, and people inside the room only see a mirror. This only works when the lighting is different on each side of the glass. When the lighting is equal on both sides, as it would be most times during this installation, the acrylic is both a mirror and see-through, which is the effect we're going for. The acrylic will be attached to the bench using cast iron brackets. This is an example of the style of bracket that will be used, which is in the keeping with the style of the bench ends. All right, and the oak. I have some local sources for some really lovely oak. I'm very excited to get it into this shape, and it will be finished with a UV resistant polyurethane that can withstand outdoor elements and prevent discoloration during the time that it's on view. Obviously, to get touched up over time. Now, this is the important part where it might disturb the ground a little bit. Looking at temporary concrete footings to bolt the bench feet to. These would be dug underground. They would go down about a foot, maybe a little bit less, but the blocks will easily be dug up and dirt put back in and resodded and or reseeded. And these are only maybe 11 inches by 11 inches square. So when we talk about the signage for this, this example sign has every logo for every partner in this project. I think it's a little overkill. We'll probably pick a few or make them all very small. But a key component of this installation is the educational programming. So we're looking at a printed aluminum sign for display near the installation with links to more resources. And the text will be developed with project stakeholders. I'm already talking with the Robbins House about that type of style of text that best reflects the historical context of this project. And we also want to make sure that people, if they don't already feel the invitation to sit just by looking at it, that they can read that there's an invitation to sit, as well as targeted questions developed for the tours that might go by this space. And these are some example questions on the sign, but those questions will also be developed in partnership with the project stakeholders. And I will also be leading a close looking exercise for the public that emphasizes the individual's role in both interpreting the sculpture for themselves and how people individually see it, and also allowing people to really immerse themselves in the details of this piece. All right, this is an AI rendering of a Minuteman soldier. Obviously a little skewed, pretty fun. I think that is it. Let me stop share. I'm not going to go back to any of the slides.
A couple additional things to add. Regarding programs, the Concord Center Cultural District Task Force will be providing funds for additional educational opportunities to kind of illuminate the stories, activate, enhance the art installation that would be executed just in this fall. And that call for art or call for creative programs just was issued today. And a little more details on the signage. The sign would be using the standard pole that the Concord Public Works has for lots of other street signs in the downtown, which is that black punch out pole and that aluminum sign that Liz is recommending. That text is just like placeholder text, but it would be like the standard sign that we see all over the downtown. And then to highlight individual programs, we'd be doing an A-frame sign that we'd take out in and out occasionally to highlight specific activations that we'd be doing on the lawn.
I can also have a little model of this, which might be easier to contextualize. This is not the mirrored acrylic. This is just clear acrylic because it's what I had on hand for laser cutting. But you get a sort of a sense of the scale windowing.
Thank you. The one piece I see missing here is a site plan. Do you have a site plan?
So there was I used the same base that the 250th did that showed the gradation and then sort of how we're going to put it close to the kind of right-hand corner there. I didn't want to be too narrow in terms of like the exact foot because I want to have Public Works be able to just depending on what the grading and if there's any underground things that we need to avoid, want to give them a little wiggle room. So yeah, that's where the installation area is there.
Okay. It wasn't clear from the introduction where the site was, other than the fact that we mentioned the 250 memorial. So it's on that site where they're planning to put the memorial, correct?
Yes. Sorry, I've been living and breathing this for a while, so I thought everybody was familiar and I had presented before. So yes, it's there on Monument Square.
Great, thank you. Let me hear from my fellow commissioners. Tim.
I think it's I really love the piece. And I guess the only comment or question, this is just an observation, I think is such a pure, simple piece, and how the sign is associated with that so it doesn't detract from the clarity of what you're doing. What the sign looks like and where it's located. That may be beyond what we can comment on. I don't know, but that's just, I'm giving you my gut reaction is the piece is impressive on the sign. I know it's just a mock-up, but somehow the sign can't detract from that piece because there's such clarity to the piece. So outside of that, I don't have any other comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Walter.
My first question, I didn't take a careful note. There was a reference in the materials to testing the materials that this was made of. Is that correct? Partly the time that it was going to be installed. Am I wrong about that?
No testing. The materials were all super stable and we've used them many times in the past. Yep.
Yeah, I may be conflating it with something else there. And so my question, I guess, is about the duration of keeping it in place. It's a temporary installation, and I defer to Luis on this. It probably is a 6-month time frame, not a 10-month. We'd have to figure that out. I see that it's bolted down to the footings. Is it possible to move it? If it had a 6-month run here, could it be installed in another place for another 4 months or 6 months? break up to 10 months there.
Yeah, the goal is that it would be movable, so it'd be unbolt, move the bench, dig up the footings.
Yeah.
Yep. Pop it in somewhere else.
Keep that in mind so it has greater longevity perhaps. But I'm not sure about the 6 month timeframe, whether that can be extended easily to 10 months if that's what happens. I understand contractually that it can be terminated and taken out at some point, but it's a wonderful piece. It should be allowed to be kept someplace, if not in that location. That's it.
Thank you, Walter. Bill?
I'll be maybe more direct than Tim. I think the art is terrific. The sign does a severe disservice to the art. Having a standard DPW square perforated post is not historically appropriate. Having a shiny aluminum sign in sans serif font is not appropriate for that piece of art or the site. So I just urge you to go back and think about having, I don't know, a wooden post, having type fonts that are more appropriate to the ear of the two folks sitting on that chair, and have it add to the artwork, not distract you because it's modern and utilitarian.
That's exactly what I meant to say.
Luis? You muted.
Just for clarification, is this the same place where the Sasaki's plan for a park is being considered? So there's going to be an addition to the Sasaki's plan?
No, the 200, that it is the same parcel where the Sasaki is working with the 250th Permanent Memorial Committee, but they are not ready to move forward and don't foresee that they'll be ready until at least the spring of 2025.
Okay, that is important. The second question is that this is a two-dimensional structure. Is that correct? It's a sculpture. I mean, it's a piece of glass with a certain thickness. What is that thickness?
Yep, so the thickness is actually 1/4 inch, and this is like a polycarbonate, so it's incredibly durable.
So it's very flitting from that perspective. In other words, if you are approaching it, you suddenly won't see it, and then suddenly you're going to realize that there's something there because of the diffraction of the light and things of that sort. Is that correct?
I think it would be fairly obvious that there's something there next to you. You'll probably see it before you sit down.
Okay, well, all right. All right, I agree entirely with my co-commissioner Bill Hewitt about the sign. I think the sign is pretty horrible. I even could go on and saying that the arrangement of the information on the sign, it's actually so utilitarian that actually denigrates from the flittingness and the essential elements that the sculpture conveys, you see. So I think that it's really needs a very precise work in order to make this sign compatible with the structure itself, with the sculpture itself. The duration of the installation, of course, we're always going to the problem that it's 6 months. I would suggest to my fellow commissioners anticipating that this installation is going to be very successful, because I think that as a concept, it's very interesting, and I will not get into a discussion of whether it is appropriate to have Henry David Thoreau having a conversation with Ellen Garrison, because that is not really our purview. But certainly I could talk about it for a long, long time. But we'll leave that aside. But I think that this probably will be there more than 6 months. So I suggest my fellow commissioners that when this application is approved, that it be approved for a period of 6 months with 2 administrative renewals. And then the final issue is that you just mentioned that the town has the prerogative to remove the installation at any time for any reason. And from that perspective, I believe that our commission will have no saying on that, because the town can always remove any structure that it's in its place that has been approved by the Historic District Commission if the reason for the removal is for maintenance. So the town can always make the argument that they need to do maintenance on the sculpture. And that maintenance may end up in saying that the sculpture is no longer viable, therefore will not be replaced. And if it was approved only for a temporary basis, then there's no problem in making that decision. So I congratulate you with the idea, and I think that this is going to be a good addition as long as we change the sign. Thank you very much.
Luis, thank you. Kate?
I have nothing to add to the observations about the sign. I don't know if we should make that a separate application anyway. And just vote on the artwork now, but I have no further questions.
Good. Did I get everybody? I think I did, other than oh, Melinda. Sorry, you used to be first. Now you're last.
It's all right. I think the town is very lucky to have such a lovely and interesting. It's more than a sculpture to me. It's just terrific. And I don't care whether they leave it there for a longer time or not. I hope you don't get vandalized. I think, I'm hoping nobody will, well, I don't want to say anything negative. I think it's great. That's it.
Melinda, thanks. I have nothing to add other than I agree with the signage, don't do standard town signage. Do something that's quite attractive and doesn't take away from what you're doing. And in terms of approval on this or vote on this, which I think will hopefully will be an approval on the signage issue. Do they have to come back to us with signage? I don't know if the commission may all want to see the signage again, or is this something that can be done administratively?
See, I think you probably should see the sign because that's part of what you do is review signage. So right, I don't know how best to do it. Luis has a suggestion. That's good.
If I may add that I think that the sculpture and the sign are going to have to be harmonious. One cannot detract from the other. And I think that what is happening right now is precisely that. So I think that design has to be considered as a separate application. And my suggestion would be that our commission approves the sculpture and requests that a different application be made for design. So the artist and the sponsors can review exactly what type of message they want to convey through design. That's my observation. Thanks very much.
Mr. Chairman, I'd support splitting it in two. The lead time on the art is long. You could get the sign fixed in a week. So getting the actual sculpture approved so that fabrication can begin seems to me to be the sensible thing. And we therefore more relaxed timescale on the sign.
And that's fine with you. It's fine with me. It's fine with you. So we're looking at an approval of the sculpture, but it's a second application needed, or another application needed to come before us to approve the signage.
Right, so there would need to be a partial removal, right? So they'd have to remove the sign piece from
the application.
A question while we're talking about the sign. Do we have any, I'm just trying to think of the last sign, or one of the more recent signs that came up was the Lafayette Society. Remember, they wanted to put a sign in Tricon, and I think we had a couple of issues with that, but one of them was having a sign sponsored by the Lafayette Society with its logo on it in the district. Now, this is a town-sponsored event, but then there are all those motifs of other organizations on it. Does the district have any stand on that?
I just want to interject really quickly. This slide about the sign was just to say there will be a sign. This is not the final design of the sign in any way.
But it still will, I understand that.
And there won't be that number of logos on it.
Well, the guidelines, I think the language is discourage the use of any logos in signs. So
Right.
each one is not consistent with the guidelines.
So I want to get that out there precisely because this isn't the final sign, Liz. So, to just,
I think there's, as I say, I think there's somewhat of a problem here. Because I think that the funders are going to want to have a logo or some kind of recognition on this, as you see in exhibitions, in museums, as you see in other installations like this. So I got the point. We don't want logos on here, but we really, unless I'm wrong, I think the funders are going to want to have some kind of recognition. Does the committee have a problem with that in a temporary installation like this?
temporary
Embedded in a
installation,
QR code.
better than-
Exactly.
I don't know if they go for that, Walter.
Well, I understand.
Good idea, but I'm not sure.
Well, on the other hand, if that's the rule we have, that's the rule we have.
Amy, do you have a comment on that in terms of,
And I'm saying this as someone who's a trustee of two of those organizations, so maybe I shouldn't be the one who brings it up, but HDC
So all
first.
all partners that helped inform the process do not need to have their logos on there, did not request their logos on there. That was Liz's generosity to acknowledge the many people that participated. The Mass Cultural, the MAPC and NEFA will want some kind of acknowledgement, and they have specific grant guidelines that was part of the contract that the towns agreed to. So I can clarify that. It would be helpful to know what is under the purview of the HDC. Are they looking at the content of the sign or the design of the sign? And while I know folks don't like see the sign that the aluminum sign and the pole as disharmonious, that is abundant in the downtown, and that there is a way in which it kind of shows the both past and present in terms of street architecture. So I guess two things is one, to just understand what's the purview of the HDC in terms of the content of the sign. And the other one to just define a little bit about the requirements in terms of the design.
well, there is no purview over content. We don't deal with content. We're just dealing with the design. So,
So the conversation about logos, that's not relevant?
That's design.
well,
That's
that's a
design.
different issue. And that's a different issue than the content of what the sign says that has to do with the endorsement and logos, which is a different question, and we have it about all our signage. And that's the one exception when you're talking about content. But as far as what the sign says, we don't get into that. But that's a rule that we don't put the logos on there, but we can make exceptions if the funders, if you come back with the sign and the funders say they have to be there, then we'll take that into consideration. But right now we're having a discussion and I've not seen the sign. So, I mean, it's hard to have a discussion about something we don't know what we're talking about other than the way you described it. So if you want to come back, if you think the black poles are appropriate and you think that you can make a statement with them and you think the aluminum sign will work very well, then come back with it. But just know that we're not warm in that direction.
I think maybe to factually answer your question, as far as I know, the commission has, as you would expect, zero say over DPW signs, even on roads in historic districts. But we have jurisdictions over other signage in historic districts.
But with permission of the chair, if I can make a
Please,
comment.
go ahead. Yeah, sure.
I believe that we should cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah.
What we know right now is that the sign that has been presented, which is probably a temporary sign, it's certainly not anything that will be consistent with the historic references of the historic districts in Concord. So I think that we should let the sponsor and the artist to come up with a sign that is consistent with the historic references that they are so carefully and so skillfully pursuing. So from my perspective, I think that that's the reason God created artists, And I believe that they will come up with a sign that is consistent with the historic references that the sculpture wishes to convey, and that will be harmonious, and it will be something that we can approve from the perspective of it providing the correct historical references of the site, which are already 95% accomplished with the structure of the sculpture and with the concept and with the whole idea. So I would let the applicant present a sign, and we have no preview on the content, but we certainly have preview on the way it looks like. Thank you.
Great. So you get the feeling that we're fussy about signs. And so we'd love to see your sign and have every confidence that it'll be lovely, just like your work of art is. So do I have a motion? Is someone going to make a motion?
Do we need to split signage off, as Ann was saying?
I think so, Walter. I mean, that's where I think we're going.
Yeah, so who does that? Is that the applicant removing it?
I think the motion would say that we're moving to approve the work of art, but that we are not approving the signage at this point and want another application specifically for the signage. And is that correct? Am I somewhere close? Oops, you're muted.
Yes, that sounds correct. I know that the bylaws say, or not the bylaws, one of your documents said something about partial withdrawals. So
Right.
would the applicant like to do a partial withdrawal of the sign and come back at a later date?
Right. So we're asking you to ask us to withdraw the sign from your application and to come back later with an application for the signage, and then we can move forward with the rest of the application, which is the work of art.
Sure.
Okay, so you're asking us to remove the sign from the application, signage from the application.
I'm hearing enough negative comments about the sign that it will not be approved together, so we will separate them.
Great. Thank you very much for that. Walter, are you back in here again?
That's what I wanted. Thank you. What, are you looking for a motion?
Yes.
Yes, I move that the application of 12 Main Street in Northbridge Historic District to install a temporary public art installation be approved.
And we don't have to say anything about signage because it's been removed, correct, Ann? I just want to make sure we're doing this the right way.
Right, I think the combination, maybe Walter, you should include that also in your motion, just to make it.
Then I do. That I move that the application of the town of Concord, 12 Main Street in Northbridge Historic District to install a temporary public art installation be approved, and that the request to include a sign in the initial application be severed and resubmitted as a separate application.
I hope that covers it.
I do too.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I got,
Okay, Tim, thank you for a second. Let me go around. Melinda, you're back in first.
Aye.
Tim,
aye,
Walter,
Aye.
Bill. I keep forgetting. I'm going to do this all night, Bill. Sorry. Luis. Oh, no, Luis isn't on this at all. It's Kate.
Aye.
And I'm an I. Sorry about that. Maybe by the time I retire, I'll get the hang of it. Great. Well, thank you very much.
Nice work.
Good. Great. So let's move on to our continued public hearings. And the first one is, we covered the Mickelsons, so we're to Adeline Harris at 419 to 21 Main Street, the Main Street Historic District, to remove chimneys.
Hi.
Sorry to keep you waiting so long.
No, it's okay. If maybe somebody can present for me. I'm sorry, we're on vacation for spring break, so I don't have my laptop with me to show. But basically, the update I have from the previous meeting is, yeah, so you can see the chimney that's wrapped at the back of the house. We focused on that chimney, not so much on the rear chimney. We had Billy Sweet Chimney Sweep come out and look at the chimney. They specialize in chimney and historic restorations, as well as kind of all other things related to chimneys and masonry. They felt like the rear chimney could have a waterproof coating put on it that wouldn't be noticeable. And that would solve that. But this front chimney, they feel like is structurally unstable. And the reason that it has been leaking is it shifts slightly. It'll shift slightly, especially when there's high winds, and that creates a gap where water can ingress to the roof. And it's potentially because the roof was replaced about year and a half ago. Two summers ago. The roof was replaced, and it had like 4 layers of shingles on it. And there was a huge amount of tar around the chimney at that time. And so it probably was structurally unsound then as well. But being that there isn't as much material around it, that shifting is really what is causing the water to ingress into the roof. They felt like, one, they're not very comfortable with it remaining up, because they felt like, especially with some of the recent storms we've been getting that have extremely high winds, that it could come down. But ultimately their advice is to take it down and then roof over that section of the house. And I provided their inspection report to the people at the historical office. Their commentary wasn't as verbose as mine, because they're construction workers, but it's they go through here, and then at the very bottom they have comments. They have some photos and some comments. They said the overall levelness of the house, mostly because of its age and because it has a fieldstone foundation, is also, kind of part of the problem, because even though the chimney itself may seem level, the whole house is really out of level. And so the only real solution they could see was removing the chimney. The others would be less likely. It would be like reinforcing structures on the outside, lots of tar and whatnot, but they still felt quite uncomfortable with it from a structural perspective, with staying up on the top of the roof.
So just to get this straight, you are asking, you had the applications for removing 2 chimneys, and now
Yeah.
you're going to keep one and remove the other. Is that it?
Correct. So the chimney that's further back from the street will keep. I guess we'll say we're removing that from the application, or, the commission can deny removal of that chimney. And I feel like we found another solution that will work for that one. But the front chimney, they don't feel like waterproofing. The outside of the chimney will work. They said, maybe it'll work through one rainstorm, and then we have another rainstorm that has very high winds, and it's just going to crack, like where that waterproofing seal is around, because they really felt like the issue is not water coming in through, say, the bricks and the mortar and coming down the chimney. It's where the flashing and the roof abuts into the chimney, and because the chimney itself is shifting around when there's high winds. That's why we're having so much leakage. But the bigger issue is they felt like the chimney itself is structurally unsafe, and could, if there was enough wind and got it enough of an angle, it could come down.
Right. Just thank you for the clarification. Let me start with Tim.
I wasn't here in the previous discussion, I don't think, but I don't know. Just looking at our contents, we try to preserve chimneys or rebuild chimneys or whatever. Is that chimney of any use? Is it nothing vents from it?
No, it's actually been removed from the inside of the house up to the 3rd floor. And there was a structural engineer who engineered the whole structure to hold it.
So it's supported by a wood structure inside the house or some sort of structure, and then it goes up through the roof. It's just a short chimney.
Yeah, correct.
I guess I don't know. I'd like to hear from other commissioners. I guess I completely understand the dilemma, having dealt with lots of those similar situations.
Yeah, I mean, I think we try, like, obviously we were trying to preserve the chimney when, I think it was 3 years ago now, when we were remodeling the house, and it was a non-functional, it's been a non-functional chimney for, I don't know how long, 30, 40, 50 years.
Right.
And yeah, so we had removed it up to the 3rd floor, had a structural engineer come in, do all of the stuff, but it was with the old roof. And then we replaced the roof, I guess it was two years ago. And there were actually three layers of, there were all kinds of stuff under there, 3 layers of roof, and some other various materials. And so they put on the new roof. And since then we've had leakage issues with the chimney into our child's bedroom, which is
Right.
which is on the 3rd floor. And so that's why we first came to the commission, is we have tried 4 times unsuccessfully to stop the leak issues with repointing the chimney, redoing the cap, putting waterproofing materials on the inside. And it's like, no matter what we do, within a storm or 2, we're back to having, you know, a 5-gallon bucket in my son's room collecting the water. And so the commission recommended that we bring in somebody else. They provided the name of a couple people. It's really difficult to find somebody who would come out. We did have one roofer who came out and said it's not a roofing issue. The roofer that re-roofed it has actually re-roofed that section around the chimney 2 times. And he's come to the point where he said, like, the issue's not the roof. Like, we've re-roofed it, re-flashed it. They've even put some tar around it. So we brought in a chimney company, found a chimney company who actually does historic chimneys and restorations. They came in and did an inspection, climbed up on the roof with it, and then they provided this report, and also spoke with my husband and I for about 30 minutes about, you know, what they saw up there and what their recommendations were.
Okay, thank you for the clarity.
Yeah, they said what their first preference would be to remove the chimney. They can re-roof it, or we can bring in the same roofing company that did the roof to roof over that area. And then once we have all that solved, we could then look at a, you know, potentially like something that looks like a chimney to put it back on there. But they felt like the structural issues in solving the leak should really be first, and then we look into what we could bring in on top once that's all done.
Thank you. Walter?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have, as I say, often I have some experience with things like this. I don't think the question is whether that particular chimney up there survives and is, you know, fixed or leak-proofed. I think it's pretty obvious that it needs to disappear. I was a little surprised to see that it was a chimney sweep who was giving all the advice on it and not a roofer. I think what you frankly need is a really good roofer and a replacement, a visual replacement for the chimney. I'd be loath to say just take it down unless there was a guarantee that it was going to be replaced in kind, granted not with something that was, you know, a brick structure. But there are ways to to fake it so that it would still have the visual look. And I think it's important, given the location of the house and the style of the house in the neighborhood, that that be done. I will say that I had recommended a roofer, I don't want to go too far along this, who would be willing to take a look at it. I spoke to him actually 2 weeks ago and said he hadn't been contacted, but all of that is to say that there are, in my experience, roofers who can do an expert job of taking that off and fixing it, and then you can put something up in place.
Yeah, so there was I'm not gonna say you provided it, but I,
Sure.
Surreptitiously somehow got the phone number of a roofer. And I tried to call several times, but was never able to get a response
Mhm.
back from them.
Well, hopefully that, with a smile, hopefully that wasn't my guy.
Yeah,
But it can, if you're willing, I mean, the question I guess I have is, and you mentioned, putting something that looks like a chimney. If you're willing to do that, I am really encouraged by that. And I
Yeah.
think that's ultimately, you'll be happier looking at your house if it has that symmetry still about it. So I would say that, I feel your pain, and that should come down, but I would want to make sure that if it comes down and the hole is replaced there, that there was a guarantee that something was going to go up to take its place. That's really my comment on this. And I certainly know that there are people who are fully capable of stopping your leak so that you don't have to do the bucket thing.
Thank you, Walter. Bill?
Yeah, like everybody on the call, I suspect, hate to lose a feature like that. I would say get it down as fast as possible before somebody gets hurt, full stop.
yeah, that's been our
think-
largest concern since we heard this is,
Coming back to us with a proposal on either a replacement masonry or a replacement alternative material chimney, I think would be appropriate though.
okay, thank you.
Luis?
I'll echo what Walter and Bill just said. I think that chimneys are iconic features of the historic districts. So they need to stay, but this chimney has to come down. But I think that they have suggested the options that are very reasonable, and I hope the applicant will be able to accommodate them. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Let me see. Kate. Has Kate disappeared? I don't see her.
Oh, she said she had to leave early, remember?
Yeah, she did mention that. Okay, this is early. I just echo what everybody else has to say. I think that we want to keep a chimney there. We understand why this has to come down, and I have no problem with taking that down as long as we put into the application that you'll replace it with a light chimney.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
Because I haven't weighed in on this yet. I may be crazy, but when I saw a picture of the house, it looked like there was almost a third chimney in the back. No?
So there is, it's a historic duplex. It's was originally built as a duplex, has always been that way. There are two in the front and there's one in the back.
Okay.
So the only one that is still semi-functional, all of them basically go to the basement. They were never, well, maybe they went to fireplaces at some point in the house, but they all went to the basement. On the 219 side, the other one that is like close to the street, like this one, it mirrors it. I believe she has her boiler venting through it. But the one in the back is non-functional and this one's non-functional.
Thanks.
But the other houses on the street, my recollection from a past discussion with another one of your neighbors several years ago, was that
There's several with two chimneys. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I'm just wondering about the placement of the chimneys compared to your other homes. Are most of them on the front so they can be seen from the street? They are, right?
I think a number of them have one front and one back.
Okay.
I'm trying to think, next door, which is the blue house, is one front and one back. Next to that is a yellow house. I think it's one front and one back. Across the street, I think they have one chimney. I'm not certain. And I'm sorry, I'm not home right now, or I could look out the window. I'm
Yeah,
on the
no
West
problem.
Coast.
I just don't want to play the devil's advocate here, but geez, if you've got two, if you have three, and we only ask you to take down, maybe two would be enough instead of three. However, this is at the front of the house. This is seen from the street. And if you're willing, I think we all feel that this would be worth it. Because you've had a terrible time, obviously.
We've had a terrible time, and I think we didn't even realize like there could be a risk of this, especially with just how intense windstorms have been recently, that this thing could, come down.
Right. Well, anyway, I think you should take it down and see what else you can do. And that's all.
Yeah, and I'm fully committed to putting something else up there. It just became, once we heard that, I just felt like I wanted to get in front of the commission to get it taken down, and then we'll work on something that looks, in line with the other chimney that it mirrors, so that it
Suitable
looks.
replacement.
Yes, a suitable replacement.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments? I don't see any public comments. Any more comments from the commissioners? Great. Do I have a motion? Anybody want to move this?
I'll make a motion that we approve. The only thing is, it says to remove chimneys, and it's only chimney, right? No S.
Correct. So you could say approve the front chimney and deny the back chimney or something like that, because it was originally two, but the chimney company feels like waterproofing the rear chimney will solve that issue. And it honestly was a more minor leak because it leaks down into our basement.
Okay. So I guess we want to say we want to remove the chimney, and we will want to see, I think, a design of what you plan to replace that with before you put it in.
Okay.
That's true. Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Do we want a little more clarity on that?
Yeah, can I just
Go right
add
ahead.
to that point? I think my sense was we don't want that submission of the suitable alternative to delay the safety related removal of the chimney.
Right. I was thinking there was two different parts to it, but you wanted very clear that they can now remove the chimney, and they need to come back to us with a suitable replacement to be approved.
Yep.
That's what Melinda said, right, Melinda?
That's exactly right.
So approval is given, subject to there being a concrete plan to replace it, and probably a time frame involved in doing that, or at least in the submission of a replacement. I'm not making the motion, I'm just saying.
Great. So do I have a second to Melinda's motion?
Second.
Okay, so Bill. Oh, gee, here I'm doing it again. I'm sorry. Melinda. Melinda.
Aye.
Tim.
Aye.
Walter.
If what I'm saying aye to is what I think I'm saying aye to, then aye.
And Kate has left, so I will ask Luis to step in and vote.
I'm an aye.
And I'm an aye. Great. Is it all crystal clear?
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. The next continued public hearing is the Trinitarian Congregational Church, 54 Walden Street in the Main Street Historic District, to replace two existing floodlights. And I see Judy. Are you the person for the church tonight?
Hart here. I don't know if you can see me here.
Oh, there you are. Okay, I see you. Sorry.
Hi, good evening. I'm Steve Hart, Concord resident architect and member of the property committee at the Trinitarian Congregational Church. And hello, Judy.
Hi.
There's Judy.
Church administrator. So we are coming before you. Whoops, sorry. We are coming before you with a second revision to our proposal to replace 2 existing floodlights with 2 new floodlights. The existing floodlights are incandescent, 500 watt, 8900 lumen incandescent light fixtures. They are old and they are not efficient. And our proposal has been to replace them with modern, lower maintenance LED fixtures, which use far less energy. Our first proposal was to replace them in kind with LED fixtures of a similar number of lumens. The commission was not open to that idea. They thought it was too much light. Our second proposal was to reduce the light by about 25%. Our current proposal is to reduce the quantity of lumens by almost 60%. So for many decades, there were 8,900 lumens of light cast at the church facade from dusk until 10 p.m. Our current proposal is 2 LED 26 watt, 3,724 lumen LED fixtures for a total lumens of 7448. The proposed fixture is, these are images of the existing incandescent fixtures. They are located on the Walden Street side, facing the main facade of the church. And the proposed fixture is a much smaller than anything we've proposed yet. 26 watts, 4000 K color rendition. And we're proposing 2, one in the same locations as the current ones. The fixture is 5.5 inches in diameter, 8 3/4 of an inch long. For what it's worth, this is a picture of the location of the existing incandescent fixtures. That's the current size. Another picture of the current fixture, illuminated. And here was an evening in last August when we did a test with the incandescent fixture and the LED fixture of the same lumens. And this image taken last August shows the effect of the LED fixture with the incandescent covered up completely. The subsequent image that we showed, last on our second hearing was taken in the dark of night in February, and this shows a single 8900 lumen LED fixture. So we're talking about less light. One fixture, sorry, 2 fixtures that combined are fewer lumens than the last proposal we presented. So.
Good. Anything else you want to add?
I'd be happy to answer questions, but it's pretty simple.
Great. So let me start with Luis. You're muted. Thank you.
I think that the issue here is that putting floodlights that face upward goes against all the regulations and all the things that we're trying to accomplish in the historic district. They are not dark sky compliant, and excuse me, the only reason that the applicant can actually move forward with the application itself is because it's considered one of the significant structures in town. So I still don't believe that the commission should be moving away from its guidelines and approving something that goes against its very specific guidelines. So what I would suggest is that the applicant withdraw the application and that it simply does a replacement in kind, and that in lieu of approving the application, the commission acknowledge that the lights will be replaced in kind and that the total lumens will be diminished to 7,448. But I think that it creates a bad precedent. On the other hand, I entirely agree. You see that what it's being proposed is perfectly reasonable and appropriate, but it's in conflict with our own regulations, and that's the reason that I believe that converting the application to a replacement in kind, of notifying this commission that there will be a replacement in kind with the addition that the lights were going to go from 17,000 to 7,000 would be appropriate. That's all. Thanks.
A clarification, Anne, the term in kind, it seems like the amount of light they're replacing is in kind. The fixture obviously isn't. And Luis, I think, has a good point. So if this is in kind, then they don't have to come before us with an application, correct? For the change they're making. Am I correct in that, Anne?
I think so, except that I think the light fixtures that have been there for a very long time, and I don't think that this would be an exact, I don't mean to, go against what anyone that says, but I don't know that it's an exact replacement in kind. If you're strictly following that term.
Right. The complication, I guess, a bit of a complication here is that they could just walk away and decide they're going to leave the fixtures just like they are. What they're saying is they're going to reduce light on the church with this application. So anyway, let me leave it there for now. We're not sure this is in kind, even though the light is in kind. We're not sure the fixtures. We know the fixture isn't in kind. So let me move on to the next individual while we ponder this. Tim?
I think I understand what Luis is saying. So in our guidelines, it says a small number of buildings that are considered to be community landmarks. Have those ever been identified?
Not that I know of.
So that, okay. Because I think what the church is proposing, based on what we discussed last time, I think is kind of where we were urging them to move, as I recall. So I kind of agree with what they're, my first blush is that they've substantially reduced it. They've gone to LED. They listened to us. But at the same time, we are, as Luis said, I do continue to have an objection to having any buildings uplit like this. The Catholic Church does it as well, extremely bright light. I think First Parish has generally moved away from lighting the facade. So I totally agree that if we're doing dark sky, especially these days, we should do dark skies and consider trying to eliminate that sentence from our work to eliminate that sentence of some buildings can be washed and uplit. But so I don't know, procedurally, I don't know. I personally, I think they came back with what we kind of asked for. They re-looked at it, they discussed it. they've dramatically reduced the light level. So I have no objection to that, but I also, I'm stating my own agreement, Luis, that this issue of generally just blasting light at facades is not where Concord should be, in my opinion, these days, and given these days, and given the importance of dark sky for all kinds of different reasons. So I will stop there. Thank you.
Walter,
I think it's a damn shame that you could only replace those incandescent fixtures in kind with something that gives you 60% of the light level. You know, I'm sure you can't find exactly those incandescents. So yeah. Luis, I think that your position there shows great wisdom, and it's sort of if we say no, then they can be replaced in kind with the 60% lighter anyway. If we approve it, and this is to all of my fellow commissioners, if we approve it as Luis was suggesting, it does set a really bad precedent that we're throwing away the guidelines that we wish to uphold. I say it's a damn shame that the in-kind replacement can only be those 60% like we were sort of asking for. I would hope that Tricon and the other institutions that were mentioned would, over the course of the next few years, carefully consider how much uplighting really is appropriate in modern Concord, and perhaps dial things down even more the next time there's an opportunity or need to replace things. But I guess be a damn shame too if the application were just withdrawn and it was allowed to be replaced in kind with those 60% lesser fixtures. That's my take.
thank you, Walter. Bill,
I think it's a replacement in kind. It has 95% less carbon footprint than what's there now. That's not our jurisdiction, but as an aside, I like dark sky. I think it's completely inappropriate to change an existing regulation real time to reject an application. The policy says prominent buildings. I don't think anybody in the commission would dispute this is one of the top 5 buildings in town. I just don't see how. I would separately urge us to say, if we want to take that phrase out of the guidelines, let's do it. That's a committee action, but we can't hold this. I don't think we should hold this application hostage to something we might want to do in the future.
good point. Melinda, I'm remembering you.
So I don't know if you can see this from
Not
my
that way.
phone.
No.
I was hoping you could. Well, what it says is Governor Healy proclaims April 2nd through 8th Dark Sky Week in Massachusetts. And so what I'm thinking is that, yes, you're cutting the light to some degree, but you're missing the boat. You could do more and you could do better. And this is where the country needs to go to, as well as Massachusetts, as well as Concord. And I rest my case.
Right. I think I see this as an in-kind and actually a reduction, which is in the right direction. And I agree with all the comments made. This is a catch-22 of some sort. And I think they're giving us, as Tim said, what we wanted. So I have no further comments. Are there any comments from the public? Do I see any comments from the public? No. Anybody want to make, anybody want to add anything else before we take, look for a motion? Great. Does anybody want to move on this application? Don't all jump in at the same time.
I'm not a voting member, so I can't move.
You can't move it. No. I'm remembering that this time, Bill.
So do we wish to just reject the application then?
Yes.
Oh, it's,
Well,
that's
then-
up to you guys.
Then I move that we deny the application of the Trinitarian Congregational Church at 50 Walden Street to replace 2 existing floodlights.
A second.
Or it could be withdrawn, right?
Well, I just wanted to go one more time looking at this in-kind idea. And any further thoughts on what in-kind means?
In kind means that what it's there, it's going to be replaced. Of course, we never replace things by exactly by the same thing that was there before.
It's a damn shame, isn't it?
Because materials change, things change, etc., etc. So lights evolve and they change. So I think that the applicant is entirely in its right to have these replaced in kind, and that this commission should make a note. The application may be rejected with encouragement to the applicant that it be replaced in kind, and understanding that the number of lumens is going to be a third of what it was before, which is essentially what they are asking for.
Yeah.
But that leaves our commission without the responsibility or without the mark of having approved something that we're not supposed to approve. The other argument is that, of course, it's an iconic structure in Concord. So from that perspective, I could move to approve the application, keeping in consideration that this is a significant structure in Concord, with the proviso that it will be with 1/3 or less of the current amount of lumens. So I believe those are the options that we have.
I guess that's Tim.
So I agree with the second part of Luis's thing. I think we should approve this because I think it's within what we've got written here, and they've done.
There is a motion with a second.
Yeah, I'm about to say that I was asking for a clarification on the in-kind, but Walter's made a motion that's been seconded. So we have to carry that through in terms of.
Well, we can withdraw the second and withdraw the
Can we repeat the motion, if you would, please?
And did you still want my opinion or on the?
Yes, I do. Sorry, Ann. I'd like your opinion on that. What in-kind means.
Might be a dangerous precedent because you all do review light fixtures, and if you're changing from one style of light fixture to a different style of light fixture, that wouldn't be in kind.
Okay.
One, people will come back to you and say, well, this is in kind.
Right. So the light isn't the thing, it's the fixture that's the thing that we're talking about here. So Walter,
I could take another 15 minutes and argue these things, the fixtures themselves are hidden from the public way, and therefore the only manifestation of them is in fact the light they carry, and therefore this is in kind. I don't think it's very helpful, but it's different from a sign that's hanging on the side of a building where you actually see the light fixture.
You couldn't you? So who seconded my motion?
Melinda seconded your motion.
If Melinda can Melinda withdraw her second, I will withdraw my motion.
If you withdraw your motion, yes, she can withdraw her second.
And then, so can you do that, Melinda?
Surely, I can.
Will
I
you?
do. Sure.
You do. I withdraw my motion, which gives us a clean slate, and we can figure out what it is we want to propose now.
Okay, so who wants to make the next motion? No, Walter, you want to make a new motion?
I'm not sure what consensus is here.
You'll soon find out if you make a
I
motion.
suppose. Well, I move we approve the application from Trinitarian Congregational Church at 54 Walden Street in the Main Street Historic District to replace 2 existing floodlights, with the understanding that the replacements will, as presented, provide a lesser degree of illumination, and that we are approving this application based not on its compliance with dark skies, but with the fact that historically it has been allowed as one of the few significant buildings in Concord that are allowed to uplight.
Second.
So, Lisa seconded that. Let me go along around. Melinda, you there?
I'm here.
What are you saying?
I say no.
Oh, okay, she's a nay. Tim?
Aye.
Walter?
I'm an aye.
Luis?
I'm an aye.
And I am an aye. So it passes. Finally.
And just to go on record, I highly recommend we review this issue as a separate item.
I would agree.
Can I go
sort
further?
out truly what our position is on floodlighting buildings.
What is the process by which we don't nod on that and never do it? I mean, do we put it on an agenda? Do we have 3 people from this committee bring a proposal back in June? What's the procedure for fixing a policy we think is inappropriate?
Well, let me talk with Ann about it and get back to you on this. I think what we want to do is, off the top of my head, empower some individuals to look into this and come back with some changes to our guidelines. But let me talk with Ann about it and I'll get back to you on it.
Thank you.
Jim? Okay, so our that was our last hearing. Is that correct? No, sorry. There's
One more.
Two more on my agenda.
Oh, geez.
They're gonna shoot
I
you.
flipped the paper over. Our next
75
one is
Main
Miguel,
and 52 Barrett.
yeah, Miguel Pierce, 75 Main Street Historic District, to repaint one sign and replace 2 signs. Looking at the wrong sheet. Is Miguel available?
Hi, I'm Marie Mercia from Sign Design. I'm representing my client, Miguel from Easton Bank. We were here at the last meeting because Easton Bank wanted their branding on the signage. I know a few of you were here from the last time, which had an orange stripe in it. So I'm going to share my screen here. So we've come up with a version. Where is my paperwork? I think this is, they actually had come up with 2 different versions. I am not too sure. And these are where the signages are. So S1 is a hanging sign. We're just replacing a sign panel on that. S2 will be the sign that's above the door on the building. And S5, there is a sign on the back of the property that we're just changing the panel out on that. So the last meeting, Easton Bank was a lot higher and they had an orange stripe on the bottom because that's part of their branding code. So we changed it all. They'd like to go with just the navy blue with the Easton Bank. This is the existing sign that is there now. So the only thing that we're doing here are overlays right over the existing sign. This is the one, this wasn't in question the last time, just changing out because Cambridge Trust is, Easton Bank is doing a rebrand to like 5 different Cambridge Trust. So this is one of the locations. So this is just changing white background with their blue lettering above the door. None of these are lit. These are all non-illuminated signs. And the last sign in the back, keeping the same post. All we are doing is just changing the same sign panels out on the top. If the pole does need painting, we will just paint the sign and the pole will be just plain white. That's not moving or changing or anything. We're just changing the panel on the top. And again, they're just looking to go with the navy blue with the white Eastern Bank. Oh my. Might have to plug in. All of a sudden I went dull over here on my computer. So those are the 3 signs. The 2 blue signs were the ones in question the last time that we were here. So this is what I'm presenting back for our clients to see if the board would likes this.
Thank you very much. Walter?
You had mentioned that there were 2 signs. These are the 2 signs you're talking about. It's not 2 different proposals.
Nope. No, I did have another option. This is their first option, is just to go with the navy blue.
So are you going to show us the second option?
Let me get it. See if I can find that on my thing. Oops. That's just hold on. Hold on a second. I think I have to stop the share and then go back in. Oh, here it is. Okay, so let me go back into the share again. I got it back up on my screen. Bear with me. I'm sorry. I'm not good at
I have no choice, and I'm happy to.
All right, so this is the second. This is the same, all the same
Well-
signs. Nothing is changing.
Mhm.
They don't like this one as much, but
I like it more.
it's
So,
better.
That was what my comment was going to be on the other one was good. What if you reversed it?
So basically it's the front sign.
Mhm.
Oop, my little.
Either of these, frankly, is a great improvement to my mind over what was presented
from the last
before.
time.
Yeah, and on that level, I much prefer the blue on white as well. I think it's classy. It's good. I like this one a lot. So given my choice, my druthers, I would go for option number 2 and be perfectly happy.
All right, so I'll just show all the pages. So that was the first hanging sign.
Mhm.
Building sign, we didn't do anything to. That was the same from the first time I came. And then the back sign on the pole.
Yeah.
Walter,
So
thank you.
my clients prefer the first choice over this one, but this is what we didn't want to come back again. So this is why I had both signs here, both layouts here for you to look at.
Sure. Well, I'll hear what my fellows have to say, but I'm certainly disposed to option number 2 and would be perfectly happy with it.
Bill?
Given these 2 choices, I also prefer the blue on white. I don't think reverse font was historically was used historically. As I recall, our guidelines say we discourage the use of corporate logotypes on signs. This clearly violates that. I guess we're okay with that, but I just note it's not consistent with our policy. Or our guidelines, I should say.
Well taken.
Thank you. Luis?
I agree with Walter. I think that number 2, it's better. And those are my comments. Thanks.
Great. Melinda?
Wow. I feel exact opposite. I love the first one the most, but if others agree, disagree with that, that's fine. I'd like the both darker with the white. I think it stands out more. As far as the logo, you would hardly, it almost isn't really an effective logo in terms of what does it even mean? But whatever, it's there to stay. I'll vote for whatever.
Tim?
Yeah, I completely agree on, I like the number 2 much better. Thank you. Thanks for bringing that.
Could you show me the front of the building again with the door?
The door, sure. Oh my God. This one?
That one. Cambridge Trust, is that painted on or is it applied lettering?
I believe it's applied lettering. We're doing the exact same thing that is there.
Okay, so I'm looking at it as a white sign, but you're just taking off the Cambridge Trust lettering and putting the Eastern Bank lettering on. It's not a
Exactly.
separate-
Yeah, we just had to superimpose it onto the
Okay.
building. Plus the white of you know, the artwork is just brighter than the door.
That's fine. I just wanted to double check on that. I have no strong feeling either way. Any public comments? I don't see any. Anything else commissioners want to add before we go to a motion? Does someone want to make a motion?
I move that we approve the application of 75 Main Street for the option number 2 to replace the signs of the Cambridge Trust for the Eastern Bank.
Great. So it's the blue on white.
Blue and white, that is correct.
Blue on white. Melinda, there's a second. I need a second on this.
Second.
Tim is seconded. So Melinda, your vote?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
Luis?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Sorry, Bill, I didn't remember you this time. Thank you. So you have your sign.
Great. Thank you so much. I'll let the client know, and you'll see the white with the blue lettering. Have a great evening.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, so our last of the continued public hearings is the Town of Concord for 52A Barrett's Mill Road, Barrett Farm Historic District to install 2 agricultural use high tunnels. And I see 2 people, and I don't think it's Mark, so it must be Melissa, correct? Or I see Lisa's here. I just saw your name earlier. Good, welcome. So run us through what you're doing again, just very quickly.
Should I pull up the plan and the photos from before?
If you could do that quickly. We don't need to. We've
Okay.
seen it before, but let's look at it one more time for the public.
So, so this is the site plan, and we looked at this morning, number 6 and number 5 are what we are proposing for the 2 new high tunnels. The other ones, 1 through 4 are there already. This is what I'm sorry, the road, sorry, it's late for 2 parents of young kids. So the roads here, so you can see this is set back about like 400 feet from the road. And you can see the view from the Colonel Barrett house, and then the view just to the west of that on the other side of the red barn. So we were proposing these tunnels to provide us some additional protected growing space that have been really useful for us in kind of like these just weather extremes that we've been experiencing in the past several years. So it provides like a nice space, protected space for us to grow crops efficiently.
Thank you. So that's pretty straightforward. Bill?
I'm not sure what to comment on. It strikes me it's historically appropriate in the sense that these kinds of structures, albeit of old materials, have been part of the historic landscape for a long time. These are obviously modern materials, whether that's discernible from the road, I don't know. I think the proposed screening would be important. I would agree with the comment that a modern plantation style row of trees is not historically appropriate, but I think having them with no screening is maybe unnecessary intrusion on the viewscape from a pretty historic, arguably the most single historic site other than the bridge itself in town.
Thank you. Luis?
I agree with Bill. I think that it's a working environment. The structure is consistent with the history of the site as an agricultural environment. And I agree that the barns by themselves are not particularly pretty, or they do not contribute to the landscape as such. So I would approve the application contingent that the applicant puts a series of vegetation to at least put a structure between the barns or the new structures and the road itself.
Great, thank you. Melinda?
I disagree with both of the gentlemen. I don't find these structures at all to be ugly or inappropriate. I think you're just adding one more. It's not, I don't think it's a big deal at all. There is a right to farm. I'm not totally familiar with all of the, I haven't read the entire thing, but there is some sort of statute in the state of Massachusetts that you have a right to farm. We want very much to keep the farms that we have going in this town. We're very lucky to have as many as we have. We need to make sure that these farms are making money so that they continue. We had talked before with the owners who pointed out to us that, and funny enough, my backyard neighbors are doing the same thing. They're tearing trees down because it blocks the sun from their lovely garden. But in this case, it's food, and I see no reason to do anything to this at all. That's all I have to say.
Great. Thank you. Walter?
I have a question. The application is from the town of Concord. Is that the official process for
They're the
application?
owners of the property.
Okay, but the town of Concord isn't asking for permission. You are as the farmers.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, that's a little unclear. And well, a few of us were out this morning for a site visit. I mean, I think there's compelling arguments, for and against. I suppose the for is based on economy, of course, and I understand your position on that. And I'm not sure that the right to farm statute has any direct bearing on this, really. I had asked this morning about how the light was coming in because we had been talking about potentially screening this, and to the left of this picture as we're looking at it is south, right? Am I correct in that?
We're facing south.
We're
To the
facing
left
south.
is east.
Okay. So if this is screened, you're not going to be suffering from a great lack of sun, correct?
So NRC controls this piece of land, and they have strong objections to screening going up. So they don't want to see vegetation planted in the middle of the field. So if it were close to the structures, then it would be in an area that would be pretty much in the middle of the field. And I think the concern with it being close to the road was in that it becomes something that Public Works has to manage.
Well, I don't think that putting it close to the road is getting anybody, anything that they want. It's obscuring the entire view.
The idea that it would shade, it wouldn't be shading necessarily the crops in the high tunnel, but the crops in the field, because it would be to the south of
Mhm.
whatever crops are in the area around it, like further forward.
Yeah, well, I'm asking these questions because I think they're the questions
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
need to ask to understand
Totally.
this. Any way to put a different color on this without compromising?
Black.
Well, black or green. Kudzu does wonders, right? Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit torn. This is back to my position earlier about the view from historic properties and what you actually see, and that the consideration isn't just the property itself, but it's how it influences other things. And the point being made that it's, you know, one of, if not the most important historic sites across the road. Does that translate and continue on to the view here? I think your neighbors, as I recall, would think that it does. And I will say it's a little disingenuous to show the empty foundation, but not the neighbor's house to the other side. And this view is much more from that house, and it affects it directly. I'm not sure. I'm mulling over. I won't continue laughing about it. My thoughts.
Thank you, Walter. Tim?
Yeah, so my observations being there this morning, which did help, is if you stand in front of Colonel Barrett's house, this third tunnel, in my opinion, has just about, just as it's rendered here, has pretty much no impact on that house. As a general statement, you know, it's also a matter of degree. If, for instance, the applicant came and showed 4 structures rather than 2, in other words, 2 lines of structures, I would have an issue because it's starting to look like factory farming moving across the field. So I don't think adding these structures is helping this site. I'll just make a general statement. I don't really have a strong objection to them, but this isn't something that's contributing to the look of the site. As an example, I walked to the left easterly of the house and looked at the open field to the left of these structures that you can see all the way down to the trees along a line along the river, and it's absolutely beautiful. So I understand where the neighbor's coming from. The concern is that view across the open fields to the line of trees along the river is a beautiful vista, and these structures are not helping that. So it's a little bit of a matter of degree, I guess. I personally don't, I think adding 1 more row in my mind is pretty small impact on that site. I agree with Melinda. I think trying to screen these, you can see in this photograph, the plantings around the farm structures are really quite random. They're not designed to screen. And when you walk among those buildings, it's a very nice setting. It's a very nice farm setting with these kind of random pockets of growth and trees. And setting anything up as a screen to cover these, I'm very hesitant about that, and also what it might do to farmable land when you have this magnificent vista looking across. So I think trying to screen these things with vegetation, I really question. So I don't have and I guess that following along on the matter of degree, if the applicant came back a year from now and said, we'd like to put another row in, I think I'd have a problem. Say, well, where does this stop? Because then you're really starting to intrude on that vista to the trees. So I think I've covered my points on that. I'm generally okay with 1 more line of buildings and not trying to artificially screen them. Thank you.
Great. I've been around so long that I was here when the other buildings were put up, and my argument has not changed much. And that is that this represents a continuation of farming if not for centuries, at least for millennia, because this has been a rich field for Native American material. So they use this site. And if you take a look at it, it's a wonderful conglomeration of buildings over a period of time, from the Barrett farmhouse to this building, which I gather maybe from the 20s, the Red Farm building, then the house that was built in the late 20th century, along with the farm stand. And these tunnel buildings just represent the next stage in what farm buildings look like today in the late 20th and in the 21st century. So I see them as sort of iconic in some ways of representative of contemporary farming. And I don't think screening will make any difference at all. And I don't see any need to really hide them. But so I think it's an important site, and I think this continuation is a good thing for those who want to look at farming in Concord. Let me ask for any public comments.
I don't know how to raise my hand, so I don't know.
Well, that's it. You raised it. I see it.
So,
Mark, what do you have to say?
So obviously, I appreciate you taking the time to do the site visit this morning. I thought it was important that you see the site from our vantage point, if you will, and from the Colonel Barrett House. You know, as I mentioned last time, we hope to have several 100,000 visitors looking at that house come April next year. And I'm not so sure that we should be exposing them to the vista that they're going to see. I'd also ask why we're doing this, okay? I think the contention is it's being done to make the farm economically viable. I contend that that's not the case, okay? They have an unbelievable deal with the town for the property. What they pay is peanuts, okay? Walt, you asked if the town was, you know, behind this, and yes, it's the town manager that signed the application. So, you know, the town is aware of what's going on there, okay? They have to be aware of it. It's their property, but it was the town manager that did sign the application, okay? I don't think that they need these structures for it to be a economically viable farm. And I think it hurts the streetscape of the whole area. I think that the Historic District Commission has an obligation to try to protect historic areas. That's the one charge that you have. And I don't think these structures have, you know, any viability in the historic streetscape. So, but obviously you guys know my opinion on it. I've waited 3 hours to give you my 2 cents worth. So that's what my 2 cents worth of. Okay. You're going to do what you're going to do anyways.
Mark, thank you. Any other public comments? Do I see any other hands up? Oh, let me see. I don't. Call out if I've missed you, because we still have the farm on here, so I can't see you all at once. Great. No other comments? Any other comments from the commissioners? Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we allow the installation of 2 agricultural use high tunnels. And I guess that's it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Luis seconded. Melinda,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Walter,
Thinking.
should I come back to you, Walter, in a
Come
minute?
back to me, please.
Okay. Bill? Oh, here we go again. Luis.
Aye.
Walter?
In honor of the tradition of farming, I am a not especially enthusiastic guy.
Okay, and I'm an I. So
That's my signing statement.
like so you have your hoop houses.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good. Thank you very much. So I guess there's no, Anne, is there other business, or I didn't notice any minutes on here? So,
So there's no other business.
No, we had no minutes to approve.
yeah, I didn't see any. So, no other business that I know about, and it's almost 10 o'clock. So I think we ought to have a motion to adjourn this meeting, and I will work hard to focus on the management part of this in the future.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Do I have a second?
I have
All
a-
in favor?